may not be a good idea to go to school at a place that you might just drop into the ocean. So that leaves Texas. So that's really how I arrived at the college decision of going to the University of Texas. Not very exactly emotional or so on. It's very logical. So went to UT. Had a good time at UT. Learned a lot as a student. My mother was sending me to school, so I want to be respectful of the fact that yes, there's a lot of echo. Okay, can you hear me better? Okay, thank you. There's a thumbs up in the back, so I think that's good. So when I was in Texas, my mother was sending me to college, and I didn't want to overburden her. So I started applying for a job. Well, the moment I got there, my first job. So I got there in late August, and as you know, school starts late August in the United States. So I got there literally 1 week before, and two things happened. Number one, because this is my first semester, the advisor pretty much has selected all my classes. So American history, American government. And so I thought, my goodness, because I was in Hong Kong. Hong Kong, we care less about what goes on in the United States, right? So I had no idea. I know that's Washington. He's a good guy. I know that that's a Congress. But other than that, that's my limit of understanding of American history and American government. So that makes it an interesting semester for me. But so that's one thing. But the other thing is my selection of job. Well, if you show up 1 week before school starts, you don't have much selection. So my first job, I kid you not, I was a janitor at the dormitory. And I really treasure those days. Because now I have a lot of respect for those folks that clean up places. Really, they make an honest living. We should respect them. They can always choose the easy way out, but they choose to work hard. So we should respect that. So I always, remind myself to be humble, and you know why? Because if you have been there in a position where you actually have to work hard for a living and you bruise your fingers and stuff, then you understand the value of money. When you understand the value of money, you understand respect, because it's something that is not taken to be granted. So in any case, so I was a janitor, and for the first semester, I worked very hard to ensure that there would not be my job again the next semester. So the following semester, because I was a computer science student, I did okay. So I got myself into a lab assistant job, so that was cool. So I got myself promoted. And after that, I was able to actually, because I did reasonably well in school, I was able to get into a teaching assistant job and so on. So that was good. So when I was in Texas, I worked really hard because, again, my mother was paying for my education. I didn't really want to take my time. So I was carrying about 18 hours a semester, sometimes 20 hours a semester, pushing myself. And also at the same time, take up my part-time job to ensure that, I don't overburden my mother. So that's the least I could do, right? So that was very memorable time. In fact, those were the hard times, but hard times are usually very memorable. So I graduated in 1989. So you can pretty much do your math, figure out how old I am. So I was actually thinking about going back to Hong Kong. So I don't know whether you've gone through this process. Whenever you go to the U.S. Embassy and apply for the student application, student visa application, they ask you, so do you have any intention to stay in the United States? And your answer should be no. Otherwise you won't get your visa, right? So when they asked me that question back in 1986, I really meant what I said. I really think, no, of course, why? Why? I have no friends there. I want to go to Hong Kong and see my friends, right? I see my family. So I have no desire to stay in the United States. But something happened in 1989, as most of you or the older folks might remember. What was that? What happened? That impacted a Chinese guy's life. Tiananmen Square massacre. Right. You're too young to remember that. So, but in 1989, there was a very important event in Chinese history, modern Chinese history, called the Tiananmen Square massacre. That was June 4th. I was hiking in Canada, Canadian Rockies, with my friends, because I was taking a little break and see my friends in Canada. And certainly I was watching the news, and certainly it weighs on me. When I got back to his house, I got a message from my mother saying, please call home. So call home, Mom. Mom said, well, you need to find a way to stay in the United States. don't come back. I said, okay, that will be a change of plan. So long story about my mom, just a slight digression. My mom came from China as a refugee. She fled to Hong Kong during the Chinese Cultural Revolution, where her parents were persecuted. Her parents own a lot of land. They grow soybean. They make soy sauce, which is a very important ingredient. So because they're landowners, they're considered bourgeoisies, and they were persecuted. So she lost her father, and then she had to flee for her life to go to Hong Kong. So she had, suffice to say, a pretty bad experience with the communists. So when 1989 Tiananmen Square massacre happened, my mother had this really bad flashback and said that, well, I really want you to find a better way. So whether that was a good decision or not, we can debate that all day long. What happened was what happened, so I decided to stay in the United States. So I went to Texas, talked to my advisor, and my advisor told me that, well, it's kind of late to go find a job, isn't it? I said, yeah, it's kind of late. And she said, well, why don't you stay back, pick up another degree. In that case, you can take your time to find another job. I said, well, I don't have that luxury in time. And she said, well, looking at your course hours, so I was computer science, but I took a lot of interest in the business classes, so I took a lot of electives in the business school. She said, well, you can actually pick up another degree at the business school for just another semester, you're done, if you carry 18 hours. So I said, okay, we'll take that challenge. So I picked up my second degree, and in the process, feverishly looked for a job. That was 1989. Another event that happened in the US economy was a recession. So during a recession, it's not exactly the best time to find a job, especially when you're a foreign student. So fortunately, I was able to get 20-some interviews, out of which I just need one job, right? So out of which I was given 4 offers, which was quite fortunate. And out of the 4 offers, I selected one. And that was a company called JCPenney's. Anyone knows JCPenney's? Okay, wow, impressive. So JCPenney is the largest retailer in the United States. So there were 4 jobs. Let me walk you through how I got to the business world. So the first job was a company in Cupertino, Silicon Valley, called Tandem Computers. Anyone knows Tandem? Yeah. Okay, you're showing your age, but that's okay. The second company is JCPenney. The third company is Mobil Oil. You know that too. And the fourth company is a company called Brown & Root, or Halliburton. Halliburton is a major heavy industry player. Dick Cheney's company. That is not exactly the most positive association, but it was Dick Cheney's company. So that was the 4 opportunities. So let me walk you through those opportunities. So Brown and Halliburton, they asked me to build a CBT, computer-based training system for them. As you know, they have a lot of deep sea drilling activities, and they can't afford to fly workers back and forth, right? From the deep sea oil field back on shore to get training. So the most effective way to deliver training was to do it via computer, and then you blast it down using satellite. So that was one opportunity. And the other opportunity was Mobil Oil. Mobil Oil asked if I would be interested to help them with the billing system. I was quite young in my career, but I was young enough and wise enough to know that billing system is not the sexiest way to launch a career. No offense to those that work in building systems. The third company was Tandem Computer. Tandem was pretty cool. Tandem was a computer that's used by most of the so-called banks, right? Financial institutions, because it is famous for one thing, which is fault tolerant, which means that the computer can stay up despite all these any failures. It's highly redundant, highly parallel. And the software itself is also highly redundant. So they asked me to help them with some of the operating system work, which is quite intriguing. And then the fourth company was this company called JCPenney. So 1989, another thing that was happening in the United States is the upsurge of this thing called strip malls. Strip malls are local malls, small malls, kind of like the shop lots in Malaysia, that basically competes directly with the national retailers. And JCPenney was under huge attack. How? Because all these shop lots, they're local merchants, they understand the local demographics, they can respond so much better to customer demands and requests. And as a result, they grab more market share away from those national guys that cannot react at the local level. So JCPenney was under attack, the business model. They have scale, but they cannot move fast. And in the retail world, having scale is one thing, but not able to move fast is fatal. So they were determined at that time to reinvent the company.